Hi, I'm Dr. Todd Cunningham, one of the psychologists at the Bright Light Psychology Clinic.
And I'm Robin Bacher. I'm an educational consultant who works with Bright Light Psychology Clinic. Today, we're going to talk about something that has been coming up with a lot of parents that we've been talking with, and it's this balance between pushing our children to do well academically, but also supporting their mental health and well being, especially in the time that we're in now. It's a pandemic, we're learning online, and we're sort of having these mixed thoughts about my child might be struggling academically or losing out on things academically, but they're also struggling emotionally and lack of social interaction. So, what am I supposed to do about this? So, Dr. Cunningham, maybe you could tell us a little bit about this struggle between academics and mental health and what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's challenging right now in terms of trying to get those balancing parts where we're worried that we don't want our kids fall behind, but yet we also see kind of the overall the anxiety levels are going up. One of the first things we really have to understand about the way the brain works is that our brains have to feel pretty calm, pretty safe to be able to actually engage. The frontal lobe here, kind of the executive functioning, the boss of our brain. When we feel too anxious, when we are worried a lot, that part of the brain is no longer focused in on academics or learning. What it's really focused in on is um, looking around, trying to decide, am I safe, am I not safe, thinking about the worries that I have going on. And so therefore it actually detracts from the learning that's taking place. We have seen that in studies, when a group of university students, if you have two groups of university students who have to learn a set of material, and then one group just goes on and learns the next set of materials without any in the regular way. But the second group, if we stress them to a high degree, putting their hands in really cold water for a prolonged period of time, that creates the same physiological response as kind of anxiety and worries. We find that when we provide that new set of learning that takes place and then measure them afterwards, that new set of learning does not actually take place. They actually don't absorb any of that new information while they're in that high stressed environment. And so what we need to do is really first actually think about the mental health issues. We can't actually pay attention to the academics until we have the mental health issues resolved, until these children are feeling safe within the environment that they are, where they're feeling that they can engage in the work that is being provided to them. And then when they're feeling good about that, when they're feeling safe and they're feeling that they can do it, then the learning is going to kick back in and they'll be able to benefit from that time on task that we're providing them.
Yeah, and I think that parents are in this position that they've never been in before, where they feel like they have to take on the role of teacher. Some of them have. We have parents who've said, I'm just going to homeschool this year, even though that's not my first choice, or parents who chose virtual learning and feel they have to sort of, micromanage and, keep their kids, online throughout the day and keep them, yes, you must do, every single thing the way your teacher has said. So I think a lot of parents are at a point now, whether they've been online and homeschooling since the fall or they're just
Mhm.
starting, of when do I know when to, push, and when do I have to sort of pull back a little bit and focus, on keeping my child calm and and really focus on that mental health. So what would you say to a parent who's like, I don't know what point I'm supposed to push or take a break?
Yeah, we need to listen to the children. So when we see that they are complaining regularly about having to get on online, when we have tears at night or in the morning about going online, when we see them basically completely disengaged, just not being able to do stuff, then we need to check in with them and start to help problem solve with them. We need to first hear what's going through their mind, what's their experience. We have to validate that. We don't want to criticize them. We want to validate. I hear that you're, finding it very lonely just to sit here in the room each day and talk. I think I'd feel lonely too. You're really missing your friends. Let's set up a virtual date with so and so this evening or tomorrow. I'll reach out to their parents. So we need to really hear them. We need to validate them, and then we need to create some solutions for them to be able to engage. Another thing that's really important for parents to understand, and also educators, is that really when we're teaching things, there's kind of two main things that we're often teaching. There's what we call academic skills, and these are fundamental skills. How do I decode and read individual words? How do I read fluently and fast? How do I understand what I read? How do I get my ideas out on paper in an organized way, following the grammatical and syntactic rules of the language? How do I do mathematical problems, take notes in class, critically think about the material that I'm giving? And then we have more content knowledge, which is kind of the knowledge that we acquire in history and social studies, in science. And and when it comes to learning, really, it's the academic skills right now which become more the priority. It's more important for us to keep our kids reading, or teaching our kids how to read and keeping them reading, working on some writing, keeping up the mathematical skills. That content knowledge, it can be acquired at a different time, but the skills, it's like exercise. If you're not exercising for a period of time, then you start to lose those skills that you have acquired, or you don't build up the muscles to be actually have those skills. So it's more important during this time to make sure that we're prioritizing, well, first the mental health, second thing, the academic skills, and then that content knowledge, again, we can pull on at a at a later time. And so therefore marks might suffer a bit, but it's better at the end of all of this that we have kids who are mentally healthy, kids whose academic skills have continued to develop, and then they will be in a much better place to be able to make up those marks and be able to continue to engage at that level at a high level after we make it through.
Yeah. I also think it's important for parents to know that, you can reach out to the teachers and you can sort of
Mhm.
make adjustments. So, my son, for example, we've been online for the last couple of weeks, and a few times in the morning he's had tears about going online. And so I'll say to him, well, let's just log in and see what's happening today.
Mhm.
Let's just like forget about the end of class and what you have to do. Let's just log in, say hi to our friends and see what's going on. And so even just sort of breaking it down into those baby steps and thinking about like let's just tackle the first task seems to have really helped. And then other times where in the middle of class it might feel like a lot of work and overwhelming, and he'll come to me and say, I'm done. I'll say, no, nobody's looking over your shoulder and telling you you have to write every single note down. Why don't you just sit and listen? And then
Mhm.
after class, we can email the teacher and say, I need a copy of the notes. And then that would be a good entry point to, advocate for your child with the teacher and say, having a hard time following along, keeping up the notes, can you send us a copy afterwards? So
Yeah.
those are the types of things I think that have helped, in my house. And so
Yeah.
could help
And
others.
Robin, yeah, and that communication I think is so important right now. Having that open communication between home and school is so important for us to be able to know how are our kids going, what are the expectations. And parents might not be saying a lot because their kids are in a different room online, and the teacher might be picking up more on something. Kids more disengage, and so being able to reach out and be able to share their observations as well. So I think yeah, that open communication is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's end that conversation there. But I think that if anyone's really struggling with that balance between academics and mental health, that's sort of our wheelhouse. That's exactly what we help support with. So if you have
Mhm.
any questions, you can always send us a message or email us. And thanks for joining us.